The Joyous Entry of 1356 is the Charter of Liberties granted to the burghers of the Duchy of Brabant by the newly ascended Duchess Joanna and her husband Duke Wenceslaus. The document is dated the 3rd of January 1356, and it is seen as the equivalent of the Magna Carta for the Low Countries. Background: in 1354, Duke John III summoned representatives of the cities of the Duchy to Leuven to announce the marriage of his oldest daughter and heiress Joanna to Wenceslaus.The, Duke of Luxembourg, and offered them liberal concessions so as to secure their assent to the change of dynasty. John's death in 1355 sparked a succession crisis. In January 1356, Wenceslaus and Joanna signed the charter that had been drawn up and solemnly swore to uphold its provisions. Louis II, Count of Flanders, had married Joanna's younger sister Margaret and claimed Brabant in her right. Louis invaded Brabant and quickly seized Brussels. By August 1356, the Brabantian document was a dead letter in practice, owing to the military occupation of Brabant by Louis. During the night of the 24th of October 1356, a group of Brabantian patriots led by Everard de Serclaus scaled the city walls and drove the Flemings from the city. This enabled Joanna and Wenceslaus to make the Joyous Entry into Brussels, giving the document its name. Content: the charter had not been completely new. A custom of land charters, originating in Brabant during the previous century, had already produced the Charter of Cortenburg, granted by John II in 1312 and also considered a Brabantian constitution, or the Walloon Charter of 1314. The 6 specific freedoms or privileges detailed powers granted to the church, the towns and some nobles, by means of which Duchess Joanna and Duke Wenceslaus could collect taxes. With the instrument, the Dukes of Brabant undertook to maintain the indivisibility of the duchy, and not to wage war, make treaties, or impose taxes without the consent of the subjects, as represented by the municipalities. All members of the Duke's Council were to be native-born Brabanters. Aftermath: on the 5th of April, Wenceslaus' half-brother Charles IV became Holy Roman Emperor. He presided at the Imperial Diet which decreed the Golden Bull of 1356, fixing an important aspect of the constitutional structure of the Holy Roman Empire, mainly restricting the freedoms of cities and civilians. The following February, when Charles, Joanna and Wenceslaus, and representatives of the Brabantian towns all met at Maastricht, to satisfy the Luxembourg dynasty, it was officially denigrated by all parties, especially its Chapter 7, which stipulated that the Duchess Joanna, if childless, should be succeeded by her natural heirs, her sisters. Thus, it was by abrogation of the Joyous Entry of 1356 that the Habsburgs eventually inherited Brabant. The defeat of Wenceslaus in 1371 was a victory for the towns over the feudal nobility, and in supporting Joanna's grandnephew Anthony of Burgundy as duke, the towns wrung from him a new constitution or inauguration charter. What remained of the Joyous Entry charter would nevertheless be referred to for centuries. The Joyous Entry of 1356 has been viewed an equivalent to the Rechtsstaat in the Low Countries of the Magna Carta's establishment of a rule of law. For England, the only other medieval document with claims to comprising a written basis of governance, in the other early successful example of a nation-state. In common with Magna Carta, its functioning significance was exaggerated by the Romantic historians of the 19th century. Annually, the Dukes of Brabant pledged to adhere to the text in the document by making a ceremonial entry into the main cities of Brabant. In the midst of the 80 Years' War in the Low Countries, her book was repeatedly published with the Latin title Letus Introitus, with the view of reminding Philip II and his military commanders of the constitution constitutional restraints of the blighter Incarmust and giving heart to the insurgents in Brabant. Later, the ill-advised attempt of the 18th-century Austrian Emperor Joseph II in his reforming zeal to abrogate the Joyous Entry caused a revolt in Brabant, before which he had to yield. This Joyous Entry charter was declared null and void when the revolutionary French forces took possession of the Austrian Netherlands in 1794. Nevertheless, it became one of the elements that formed the Belgian Constitution of 1831.